Real quick, I just wanted to share with you that From Scratch is an independent podcast that is not backed by any investors. If you do enjoy these types of inspirational stories and would like to support the podcast, I will leave a donation link somewhere above or below this video where you can make your donations discreetly and safely. If, on the other hand, you have a business and would like to advertise during one of the episodes, I have three types of sponsorship packages that basically fit any type of budget for your business. Any financial contribution is highly appreciated, and I cannot thank you enough for your continued support. But you don't have to donate in order to support the podcast. All you have to do is just simply subscribe and share it with your community so that these meaningful stories will reach a wider audience. Thank you for listening. Now let's go back to the episode. Welcome to From Scratch, the show where our guests share their journeys of success and failures. My name is Joko. I'll be your host. And today with me I have Nick. Now, if these stories are something that inspire you, please make sure that you subscribe and share them with somebody to inspire their day as well. Now, Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Man, it's a pleasure to have you. The story how we got to this point is crazy. Didn't think this would happen.
Definitely. I mean, I was like, man, I'm going on vacation. You're going on vacation. I'm busy with staffing issues. You
Yeah.
got things going on. You're busy.
It was funny, like all the dates that you were like, okay, I'm available from this to this date. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on vacation on these dates. Like, okay, sorry, never
And vice
mind.
versa.
Right. So you own a cocktail bar, right?
I do, yes.
Okay.
So going on 4 years now, and
Nice.
it's thriving. It's insane.
Beautiful.
I
Beautiful.
I put it in a town called Shorewood, and I didn't want to go anywhere else but Shorewood.
I would like to dive deeper into. Obviously, when you started, it was not as thriving, but it's a journey, right?
Absolutely.
Let's go further back.
All right.
Let's go all the way back to young Nick.
Who
You know
is
what I
Nick?
mean?
Okay.
Who was Nick? Where did Nick grow up? How was life with your parents, with your family?
Yeah.
What kind of, high school days? All the good stuff.
Wow. Okay. So I actually grew up in the east side of Joliet.
Okay.
My house was between a Baptist church and a Jehovah's Witness church.
Wow.
And you
Okay.
were not able, my brother and I, were not able to go past those points because it was bad. It was in a bad area. It was in a bad
Okay.
neighborhood. I basically, grew up in a modest home, but we weren't rich, we weren't poor. I went to a Catholic school in Manhattan called St. Joe's and graduated with 8 kids.
Wow. Okay.
Uh,
Huge class.
Ginormous. And it was the same 8 kids from first grade all the way until
Wow.
8th grade. That school was a little rough. I was the only Hispanic in that school because everyone else is Irish in Manhattan. So I was the only one that didn't know how to Irish dance. I wasn't able to participate in any of the Irish things because, well, until Ancestry DNA comes out and come to find out I'm 28% Irish.
Okay.
But,
There you go. Yeah.
something. But it had to do with just like being the minority and bullied. I didn't have friends. I had one friend. His name was Jim, and we hung out as much as we can. But other than that, there's 8 of us. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And I think the one before that, the people that were below us, there was like 7 of them. So
Wow.
it was a very small school. So I grew up pretty uncultured in a way.
Okay.
I wasn't able to go to these certain places. We went shopping in the Irish town. So, when it came to different ethnicities and different experiences, I wasn't able to get that unless I was with my grandma and we went to Chicago.
Really?
The world was very small for me, and it was, what do they call them? Umbrella moms, where
Okay.
they just kind of guard you all the
Hmm.
time. So I grew up with that. My brother and I, we learned how to be self-sustainable at such an early age. We were using the microwave, the stove, the oven at age 5. We were learning how to make macaroni and cheese with tuna, which is my delicacy that I like to make once in a
Nice.
while. But other than that, my grandmother lived and like connected, our backyards connected. So we hung out with our grandma all the time, and she would, make us dinner once in a while, or we'll help cook her,
Right.
cook dinner and stuff. once high school came around, I was supposed to go to Providence. Well,
Okay.
all of these kids that were picking on me are all going to go to Providence too. And I'm like, I really don't want to go to Providence. I was like, can I please just go to a public school? Like, I'm sick of wearing polos. I'm sick of wearing khakis. My mother and my father went to Joliet Central High School. My grandparents went to Joliet Central. Everyone in my family did. So why can't I? So my parents were like, you know what? Yeah, it does save us quite a bit of money. Okay, well, okay, go. You're going to a public school. So loved it. It was the first time where I went to high school and I'm like, holy crap, there are so many different minorities here. It's not just
Mm.
me. I was always the one that was told that I'm this minority, and here, this I got to see that the town that I live in has Hispanics and blacks and Asians and that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I was friends with everyone. Cheerleaders, football players, soccer players. I did art and photography. They
Nice.
didn't have a cooking classes when I was there, so I
Right.
never got to do cooking, but it was always my thing when I would get home. Cook
Right.
dinner for my mother and stuff like that. So my brother and I had to become very grown up at such an earlier age than usual. My parents got a divorce when I was 14. He was 9. I feel like when you get out of a toxicity situation, which is what my mother got out of, you kind of rebel a little bit. You
Right.
start going out a little more. Your kids are able to cook dinner for themselves and they can watch themselves. So, she went out quite a bit, and I don't blame her whatsoever. But I think that is where a lot of my personality comes from, where I don't need to find help. I don't need help, and I don't usually ask for it. If I can do it myself, I'm going to do it, whatever it takes to get there.
Right.
And that's basically what it was for me opening up Mauve, my bar, because I decided to do this during COVID. So
Yeah. Wow.
it
Yeah.
was a little
Tough times.
crazy. Tough times. Tough
Crazy
times.
times, actually.
After high school, I went to a mixology class, elite mixology, learned how to, shake cocktails, how to create, basically chemistry with alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
and mixers and
Is that
stuff.
an actual degree? Like you get a mixology degree, or is it more like a diploma, like
It's more, yeah.
recognition?
Yeah, it's more of a recognition. It's not a degree. It's nothing you don't go to high school
Okay.
with or college.
Right.
It's something that I did not go to college myself. I don't even have my gen ed. So,
Mm-hmm.
I just went from that straight to working right away.
Right.
During high school, my first job was a pizzeria in
Right.
East Side
Wow.
Joliet. And after pizzeria, did Walgreens for a second. Hated that. Went back to the food and beverage industry because
Yeah.
I knew that was, I love food, and I mean, I was too young for alcohol, but I just loved making people happy.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm sorry, but the number one thing for people to make them
Food.
happy is food. We all need it.
Yep.
That's where the word hangry comes from.
Yeah, I know. How was the Snickers? I love those. You're not mad. You're just hungry or hangry or something like
Yeah,
that. Like I
yeah, and
just
then they
love it.
turn into a completely
Yeah,
different
exactly.
person from the monster they were.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I went and got my mixology license, and I started hopping from different bars with my mixology license. I worked for this place called Elite Mixology for a short period of time, and I would work for bars that needed help with new menus, or if they just were short staffed, or if there
Mm-hmm.
was some kind of crazy event going on, I would work that. So that's basically where like the whole mixology part of me came from,
Okay.
and really thriving upon that.
So it came from a pretty young age.
Yeah, yeah, I was 21.
When you started the, I mean when,
The mixology license, yeah,
right, right, right,
mixology school. But if you
right.
want me to be honest, it's so illegal. But I
We,
started bartending at 17.
yeah.
I
But
was
hey, you
slinging
gotta do
drinks.
what you gotta do to come, to get to the other side, right?
Oh yeah, oh
Like,
yeah. I was making vodka cranberries for people at this divey bar in Joliet, and
okay.
it's no longer around. So, and it's probably a good thing it's no longer around. But
I,
but yeah,
I can hear
17.
stories coming.
It's so bad. It's
Tell me.
so bad.
Come on. You gotta give me
Well, it's
one.
just it was just a dirty bar. It was so dirty. Like it, sometimes you have these women, that wear these shoes, and shoes are uncomfortable, especially if they're 3 inches, 4 inches high.
Yeah.
So they take them off. Guarantee you, within 30 seconds, their feet are completely black. I don't think
That's nasty.
I don't think the entire time I worked there they ever swept or mopped that
Really?
floor. Oh, it was horrible.
Holy
Horrible.
smokes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
But it was in downtown Joliet, and it's in an old building, and that bar has been there for so long that
Mm,
they are grandfathered in with a lot of things that should be done now
right, right,
with the
right.
health department and
Right.
stuff. I saw,
Oh,
people
man.
being, not really responsible with drinking and driving, vomit all over the place. I saw it all, But I loved it. I loved the nightlife. It was
Right.
great because everyone is happy. Yes, sometimes you get the angry drunks. That's basically where it started.
You did mention bullying. In what sense bullying? As a Hispanic
Oh yeah,
or
as a Hispanic, well, growing up, my father has a flat top, and
okay,
to this day, he's turning gray, so your hair is starting to shift. So it
right?
looks like he's trying to still do the flat top, but it doesn't really look like that. So that's basically what I had. It was buzz cut, flat top, so I did look pretty Hispanic, but I'm light colored. I have colored
Yeah.
eyes, so but they all would know that because, my last name, yeah, I was bullied throughout my entire time. Didn't have a single friend besides one. And he was a cool kid,
Right.
cool guy, and
Right.
uh, fell off the face of the earth. Who knows where the heck that person's at? Can't even find them on social media, which is
Right.
huge these days.
Absolutely.
Every day I would cry and beg my mother to take me out of the school. Like, it's
Right.
horrible. She ended up doing it for my brother, but
Was he in the same school or
he
like a similar in
was.
the same school?
Yeah, but he was, my brother's 5 years younger.
Right.
So
So
once I graduated, she put him in another Catholic school called St. Joseph, same name, but in Joliet. So he actually was able to be in school with all kinds of different ethnic
right.
backgrounds, and it was amazing.
Right.
I was like, I wish she kind of did that for me, but we stuck it out, and it's just kind of crazy because there's so many Catholic schools around where we grew up,
Mm-hmm.
and yet my mother was okay, stay at home, but she was a stay at home mom. My dad worked 3 jobs. Every day she would
Mm-hmm.
go 30 minutes out of her way to drop us off and pick us up.
Well,
Taught me thick skin, that's for sure.
absolutely.
Adaptability, I
Right.
guess I would say.
Right.
And to this day, it's when people have something to say, you just I've been in the industries for so long that I can word things where I can make them feel good even though it's a negative comment that I say
Right. Right. Right.
back, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, just being around
It's a
people more
skill that you
often.
learn throughout.
Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many different personalities in the world, but I will say the way that you reword things, if it's going to be derogatory or positive or negative, if there's the correct wording makes people understand. It's weird,
Absolutely.
it's interesting, and I think it's probably a communicative thing that I've
Mm-hmm.
gained, something college doesn't need to teach you.
True. Now, before you went to started with your mixology journey, right? That was around high school,
Yeah,
right?
21, so after high school.
After high school.
Hmm.
Did you have any dreams of like, I want to become X, I want to become Y? Did you have any aspirations as a kid back then?
Oh man. Well, growing up as a kid, I loved to rollerblade. I was a
Okay.
rollerblader master. Loved it. I was outside between those two churches, rollerblading around. And so when I was younger, I wanted to be a roller rink DJ.
A,
Oh
a,
man.
a roller ring
Roller
DJ.
rink DJ.
I've,
Wear these
that's
headphones
funny. I've
and
never been to a roller ring.
oh, you
I have
have to.
never been
You
to a
have
roller
to.
ring.
I don't know where there's a good one now, but back in the day,
Yeah.
they were pretty awesome.
Okay.
They were pretty cool. I used to go to one in Shanahan. It was called Skateland. It was awesome. They had
Okay.
lights everywhere. the floor was white, so, or the rink was white. It wasn't wooden, so,
Uh-huh.
it had all, it could do so many crazy things.
Nice.
It's in the 90s. It was a little
Yeah.
different,
The
it's,
good times.
yeah, yeah. I don't even know if they really exist that much anymore. But during high school, though, there was so many different things that I wanted to do. I took welding class. I loved it. I loved welding. Soldering was really awesome. I took about like 2 semesters of that, or I guess 2 years, I would
Right.
say. And so I was like, man, maybe I want to be a welder. My father works for Nicor Gas Company. He wanted me
Okay.
to work for Nicor Gas. I'm like, well, I guess that's a pretty good, pension, 401k, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I always knew that I was in the restaurant industry, during high school, working at this, pizzeria. Never thought in a million years that I would want to be a business owner during that time.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought about being a veterinarian when I was in high school because I
Okay.
love animals. I love taking care of animals. I
Mm-hmm.
spoil the crap out of them. I have 2 10-year-old dogs now, and they're fat and happy and lazy. So,
What
you
else can be
know,
said, right?
they'll be like, hey, I need to go outside. All right. And they just go outside, they lay there, and then they come back in. They're like, where's my treat? But yeah, it wasn't until probably once I started getting into bartending legally
Mm-hmm.
at different bars and a brewery and a winery. And I worked at, my first serving job actually was Applebee's. Then I went to Chili's, went back to Applebee's. Then I went to a brewery. Then I went to a winery. And then I went to a couple farm to table restaurants,
Wow.
and that was all after, traveling to all these different bars also. And, for being a traveling mixologist is basically what I was doing for quite a bit. And I'm like, I really want to open up my own restaurant.
Yeah.
There's so many different ideas in this brain of mine that I would love to bring into fruition. Are some of them realistic? Probably not, but it's doable. But also, I would love to tell everyone who is ever's watching, take the leap of faith.
Yeah.
Take the jump. You either land on your feet or you fail, but at least you did something. And then that way you can even tell yourself, I did that. It doesn't matter. Say I want to open up a Mediterranean restaurant. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Something I actually want to do. But
Right.
if I put it into a town, you got to look at demographic too. You got to look
Absolutely.
at population, demographic, and how much are these houses that people are living in.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is, if you want to go where, houses are $150,000, put in a sports bar or dive bar, you're going to do fantastic. These houses, $500,000 houses, which crazingly enough, my bar down the road, there's $1 million houses, $500,000 up to like
Right.
$480,000.
Right.
Put something fancier in there.
Exactly.
Because those are the kind of people that are going to travel to go somewhere to eat or to drink.
Mm-hmm.
So put something there for them to want to go out, and then that way they can have a couple drinks and then they're only a mile away.
Exactly.
Don't stick in your own ways. If something's not working, don't be that person that's like, oh well, you know what, someone will appreciate it. They just won't like it here.
Right.
No,
That's
put a damn burger on the
Yeah.
menu.
That's
you
the
know
ego right there. Like people don't wanna.
it's crazy, and
Mm-hmm.
there's so many people that I know that decide to open up a restaurant, and I love that. I always tell them, just thrive.
Right.
But yet when you have this cockiness to you where you're not going to change for anyone, there's going to be zero accommodations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then who are you serving then? Are you serving the customers to make them happy?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you trying to just serve a purpose for yourself?
Yeah.
You got to think. You need both. And it needs to be a good chemistry to be able
Right.
to make both actually happy. And that's what's going to thrive.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to mold. My cocktail bar Mauve, First year that we opened, that first day, I had some risky cocktails on there. Risky, and the food was the same. We had shrimp cocktail that was poached in IPA beer, and
Okay.
we took the heads and we stuck them back in. People were freaking out. Oh my gosh, there's heads on here, and we're like, no, we put them back in. Just
Right.
take it out. I'm not touching that. We're like, okay. They don't like it.
Right. Right.
Same thing with the cocktails. I was getting all goofy. I was using lychee and and egg white with it, and I was mixing some different bitters together and simple syrups, and they were not having it. Okay, well, that means the next season, which we change every season, it's you got to mold.
Right.
So
Right.
let's go a
Adjust.
little bit more simple,
Readjust. Right.
simplicity,
Yeah.
and and let's not saying you don't need to do it again, but let's wean them on.
Did you know what you were doing, or you were like, I'll figure it out as I go, kind of like
Three
mentality?
strikes, I'm out kind of a situation. You have this crazy idea in your head, figure it out.
Right.
Three strikes. If the first one didn't work cocktail wise, and you're like, okay, how about if I do this? Or maybe it needs more of that. After three times, whatever I wrote in my notebook, which I'll be honest, as a business owner, and I'm sure that you know as well, sleeping is not essential. You don't really sleep. So
It's a hobby.
It's a hobby. Yeah. I have a notebook on the side of my nightstand, and sometimes I don't, and that's completely fine. And if I don't, then, I'll wake up. Sometimes I'll go downstairs, grab my notebook, and I'll write down like an idea that I have, this cocktail. And I get a lot of dreams where I'm just like, oh my gosh, this sounds like it'll be pretty crazy. Let's
Okay.
try it out, Three strikes. If it doesn't work, I
Move
cross
on.
it out. I cross it out. There was only one cocktail. It had three strikes. It had two strikes and three balls. It was so close of
Okay.
close of not
That is like
working.
literally on the edge, holding on for dear life.
I wanted that cocktail to work so damn
Why'd
badly.
you push it so much?
It's just it was so close of just getting there, and I was like, if there has to be a way that I can make this better, and it was so close every time. And so it's I called it the lemon meringue. It
Okay.
was a lemon meringue cocktail. And so I was running into issues of like, okay, the egg white, there was not that much egg white to it because you need that nice meringue, topping on it. And then it was like too citrusy and it was too sweet. And I'm like, it needs vanilla. I'm missing vanilla. Man, it was
Going back and forth.
once I made the fourth try, perfect.
Yeah.
And you have that egg white floated right on top, starts to solidify, and then I sprinkled some sugar on it. We took a
Okay.
torch and we torched it to do like a creme brulee topping on it.
Okay.
Oh, people go ape shit over it.
Nice.
Don't get me wrong, like I love doing different seasons, winter or fall being more cinnamon, winter allspice
Okay.
and cranberry and then you have spring where you're bringing out the blood
More
orange
fresh
and
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and summer. That's where you really
Mm-hmm.
food and cocktails,
Right. Right.
and especially with wine too, and that's another thing that I did. I got my level 2 sommelier when I was working at a brewery. I got my level 4 cicerone, which is the knowledge of beer. So I can brew beer if I want. It's not really my thing.
Right.
Cocktails and wine are and food. That is what I thrive for. That is my life. And don't get me wrong, me living in the town Plainfield downtown, there's great restaurants.
Right.
But I love to venture out. I love to travel
Right.
and try new things. I'm not a big meat eater.
Okay.
A lot of people, especially in this area, they are meat and potato people.
Yeah.
That is one of the things when I was little is I lived with carnivores where they were eating ribs and steak and pork chops and refried beans. And my mom, we had a little toaster oven, so she would pop, a
Simple
fillet of
things.
tilapia or salmon for me because I love seafood.
Mm-hmm.
Not a fan of meat. And that's when I finally realized growing up, I have a refined palate. And
Yeah.
it's been that way since I was a kid. Like I could taste where it lived. Pork, and I try it
pork is
all
the worst of
try it
all, though.
all the time. I go to Greece every year and try the
Lamb?
freaking shawarma and try this gyro, and I'm like, It's disgusting. I can taste what it ate. I can taste where it lived. I can taste what it
I
rolled
love it.
around in.
I
And I
love it.
have a cousin that I just randomly, I mean, she's a cousin through marriage, and she
Uh-huh.
comes to my bar all the time. You know, we talk about wine, and I think that's where the refined palate comes from, because I can taste different, you know, fruit notes and, you know, tannic structures and all this in wine too. But when it comes to meat, you know, and she owns a cow farm. She
Okay.
owns a cattle farm, and
Okay.
she raises cows for meat.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, you know, she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make steak. Do you want some?" I'm like, "Absolutely not." And I told her I could taste where it lived. She goes, "You actually taste the fear in the
Ooh,
animals."
okay.
She said in cows and pigs and chickens, they don't contaminate their meat, but when they feel fear, their chemical imbalances are a little
Oh, I've
different.
heard of that. Yeah.
So the only one, I mean, there's a couple marine animals that are like this too, but skate wing, which is in the stingray family,
Okay.
if they sense fear while they're being butchered, they release a chemical into their body that actually makes their meat taste and smell like ammonia.
Really?
I
Okay.
worked at a restaurant and we served skate wing, and this guy was like, "This tastes like a chemical, man. I don't know what's going on." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he got the fearful, you
Oh,
know."
wow.
We smelled it. Smells like straight up ammonia. Cows and, you know, and pigs and them, they're different, but they just say that the fear, you know, it's kind of like an adrenaline rush,
It does create like a
and
chemical
it does
reaction.
create some kind of chemical reaction in their body where their meat will just taste a little off.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. I can taste the manure.
So are you vegan or vegetarian?
I love seafood.
Okay.
And I'm kind of weird because I'm not a vegetarian or a
Or
pescatarian,
okay.
because I will sometimes have ground chicken and ground turkey.
Okay.
You know, if I'm making tacos or a meatloaf,
Yes.
and I don't judge anyone. You know, and it's crazy. I love to grill, and I'll grill meat, and I love to have people over and family over, and
Mm-hmm.
I love hosting.
Right.
You know, I do a chili competition. I'll eat all that. It's
Nice.
ground, you know,
Okay.
unless
Yeah.
they're putting brisket and shit in it. I'm not eating it. It just tastes, it just doesn't taste good to me. But, you know, people are going to be watching this. They're like, this dude's messed up. But it's something about this, like, the taste. I don't
Right.
know. I love cooking meat for people, and I'm pretty damn good at it. I just won't eat it myself, you know.
You've been in it for a long time. You said Applebee's, Chili's. Uh,
Corporate, family owned. I've done it all.
right.
I've been
So
everywhere.
you must have learned a lot, like lessons, a lot of lessons, right? From
Absolutely.
each job, from each position.
Customer service, I
Mm-hmm.
think, is a really huge thing. I highly recommend, if anyone wants to be in the food and beverage industry, or if you are someone that wants to open up your own restaurant, but you've never done it before in your life, I highly recommend working for corporate first, because they're going to mold you and however they want to create you. But corporate's number one thing has always been customer service. The customers, let's make the customer happy. Let's go above and beyond for us to have that great customer service.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a huge thing when owning a bar. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
want people to be happy. You want people to feel appreciative of you. And you want people to want to come to your place
Right.
because you make them feel so
Exactly.
amazing and important.
Yep.
And that is one thing that I did at my bar that I absolutely love is, you know, it's 1,400 square feet. It's not big. So you see every person that walks in that door. So every person that walks in that door, I don't care if they're coming in every 30 seconds. My bartenders and my servers have to say, "Welcome to Mauve," because that first thing that is said, "Welcome to Mauve," that shows them that they were noticed. That
Mm-hmm.
shows them that they were seen.
That's a great.
If you're not greeted right away as soon as you walk in that door and you sit down and you're not getting menus, say in 2 minutes, you haven't gotten menus, it's a busy bar, they're like, "Oh my God, this place already sucks."
Mm-hmm.
It's a natural thing to think. And so I've noticed that when people are realized right away, if they even have to wait 4 or 5 minutes for menus,
They will.
at least tell them, "Not only were you acknowledged, but I see you. I will be right with you as soon
Right.
as I get to you. We'll get you some waters right
Yes.
away with the bar back. Someone will do something to show that they are there and we see them. And that is something that I learned from corporate. The thing is, and family owned, of what I've noticed is it's all about quality and food and flavor, and let's
Right.
give people a great experience of what we're putting on the table.
Yes.
Not so much corporate, which is all about customer, you
Right.
know? So I got to learn both aspects of things. And I have learned so much from both of what makes people happy, what makes them angry, how can, you know, and I got to the point where it's like, okay, now I know how to give great customer service, mold my employees to be able to do the same, and then let's give them amazing food and cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 4.8 star, okay,
Nice.
on Google. I'll
Nice.
take it. And the only reason why
Yeah.
is because I have a couple 2-star, 3-star where they're like, food was great, cocktails were amazing, but I'm going to give 2 stars because it is a little pricey. But I did love the fancy glassware that came with it, and I love the Luxardo cherry that's like $1 a piece. And the rock candy in my old fashioned
Mm.
was an amazing touch. Okay, well that shit costs money.
But you can't make everybody happy all the time,
Gosh
too.
no, gosh no.
And
I
it's
want to.
as business owners, we definitely do. And you know, when it comes to those reviews, those pesky reviews, we have the urge to delete or remove negative comments.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like we shouldn't do that. You know what I
No,
mean?
no.
Because
Keep it on there.
exactly, because that's what makes your business a business.
Exactly.
Some people will be happy, some people won't.
I want to make sure that my employees are right there with it of customer service. Of like,
Hmm.
okay, but I just want to let you know, if you don't like it, this is not our issue. Because I train them as well on cocktails too. Everything is measured out.
Hmm.
Everyone is using the jigger. I don't want anyone to not use it, because if Joe Schmo shows up on a Tuesday and loves this cocktail and then shows up on a Friday and it tastes completely different,
There's something
there's
wrong.
no, I'm not doing that. There's so many places I've been
Yes.
to that's been a thing, and I'm
Yes.
like, no, consistency is really key, and that's a
Yes.
huge thing in food and beverage industry too. Is consistency. You need to make sure that the food every time it comes out is going to be the same. You
Hmm.
know, make sure that everything is done to a T. I'm not an I'm not a dictator of a boss,
Right. No,
okay?
no, it has nothing to do with being a dictator. It's
I'm very
standards.
yes, and especially if we have a really really crazy night, you know, and everyone is just like, oh, you know, just let's all cool down, let's talk about, or if there was an issue that happened, you know, because
Hmm.
I'm not saying that I don't have issues sometimes, but
They
I'll be like,
arise.
all right, guys, you know, I know we just got finished, everyone wants to go home. Grab a glass of wine or grab a cocktail. We got to talk about what happened today with the shit show.
Right.
And a lot of it has to do with miscommunication, you know,
Yeah.
where I have one bartender, one server that are just not communicating upon
Hmm.
each other. And then I'm there and there's zero communication that I'm getting from either one of them.
Hmm.
And, you know, sometimes you got to have a sit down and be like, okay, what should we have done and what can we do better? Because it's Friday and we still have Saturday to
Right.
go, you know? And I think that my employees really appreciate that. I have the same employees from day one. Speaks a lot of
It really
volumes.
does.
Minus kitchen. I had one chef. Then that chef left. It took my sous chef, made him a chef.
Hmm.
He was there for a couple years, 2.5 years, almost 3. He left, you know, because it does take a specific person to want to try and create food
Hmm.
only using ovens and induction burners
Right.
and a panini press. Honestly, I mean, this
That
studio
that
is
is
bigger
true
than my
though.
kitchen, you know.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
And I think that's where the fun challenge is at too. How can we make elevated food in this tiny little kitchen?
Can you talk to me about the middle days that nobody sees?
Oh my gosh, the middle days, the days of, you know, where it's not busy but it's not dead,
Hmm.
or you know, especially when kids get out of school,
Hmm.
parents are freaking out.
Why?
It's because now they're back home all
Oh, in
summer.
that sense,
Now I
okay.
got to figure out what to do with this kid because I'm still working, and do we put them
Hmm.
in summer activities? And the reason why I'm saying that is because the majority of my clientele are parents.
Hmm.
Those are the days where it's dead at a restaurant, you
Hmm.
know, after Christmas, slow as hell.
Hmm.
Sometimes the employees are upset and, you know, they're not making money.
Right.
So I make sure I tell my employees a month beforehand. I'm like, just let you know, next month's going to be
Plan ahead.
real fucking shitty.
Plan
So
ahead. Yeah.
plan ahead of things. Don't spend that money on that Apple Watch right now, or do it. Well, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to tell you and let you know it's going to be a shitty month.
Yeah.
And in the restaurant industry, there's about 3 shitty months. 3 shitty months out of the way out of the year. It's usually after school, before school,
Really.
and summer is pretty booming. Winter's pretty booming, but after holidays, you're dead.
Really.
Dead. Oh my gosh, yes. And I keep myself busy. I do the social media.
Yes.
I pay someone to do the food photography, but I
Mm-hmm.
do the social media.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're having really slow months, how can you make some kind of money? Do events. People love events. So I
Absolutely.
do six, all right, sometimes I do a 5 course, sometimes I do a 6 course. Dinner tasting pairing. You can have 20 people in that door, $100 per person. Boom, you just made 2 grand off of just tickets.
Yep.
And you can easily make a profit, and obviously adjust your
Right.
prices depending on what you're going to be serving.
Right.
People love that.
Through the tough times with your restaurant, did you ever want to quit? Did you ever want to
Oh,
be like, you know what,
absolutely.
like, screw this?
Absolutely. After 2 years, you finally find the schedule. You
Okay.
finally figure out how to make the world go round. Because let me be honest, the first 2 years, you don't know what the hell you're doing. You're like, okay, this delivery is coming at this time. This delivery is coming here. My house is a mess. I have no time to clean it because there's no give and take in figuring out
Mm,
what the hell to do.
right.
You're just living day by day. And I think that after 2 years, you finally figure out how to manage a personal life, a business, and the in between.
Right.
For instance, last week I worked 84 hours.
84?
84. 84 hours. Short staffed in the kitchen, needed a cook in the kitchen.
Oh my
I
God.
had to prep. I had events going on, and we had a wake ceremony. Someone, they weren't religious, so they decided to do the wake at
Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
bar, and I had to make 72 sliders and 72 meatballs and or 4 bins of pasta, and I was only me. I'm short staffed.
Wow.
Week before that, I worked 78 hours.
Wow.
So yeah, sleeping is definitely a hobby.
What kept you going during those days? Like, what fueled
Yerba
you?
mate tea, what I have right here on the floor. I
I didn't
was
mean like literal fuel.
That's my fuel. That's what keeps me going.
Right.
Found this TikTok thing. I was like, okay, TikTok shop. I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna buy it, see what
Right.
it is. This yerba mate
Okay.
powder. It's supposed to have prebiotics, probiotics. Which, if you didn't know, you need both to actually make them work together. You can't take a probiotic and not take a prebiotic, and vice versa.
Okay.
You need to take both because there's enzymes and there's bacteria that are good
Mm-hmm.
for you that need each other to
Mm-hmm.
work. But yeah, there was absolutely times where I wanted to quit. I mean, sometimes it could be on the daily.
That's what a lot of people don't understand about owning and running your own business. Like,
It's unpredictable.
it's very unpredictable, and especially if you have people working for you, like, they don't care. Like, they'll
Oh
be
yeah.
like, you know what? I'll just call in sick.
I'm so happy I don't have that issue
That
yet.
that's good.
Yet I
That's
will.
good.
I'm sure
That's
I
that's
will.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I do have, a couple employees that call off or whatever, but if you're sick, you're sick.
It
You're dealing
happens,
with
right?
food, you're dealing with drinks. I can't have you come in anyways.
Absolutely.
And I'm one of those bosses where, if you want to go on a family vacation, go. I will find someone to cover. I'll bartend if I need to. And that's one thing that I love about, what I do is I don't have a manager. I am the manager.
Yeah.
I want to be there every day because I want people to see the owners there. And it's crazy because I have been told so many times that that is so noticeable to see that that's what they love the most is that
Exactly.
the owners are there, and they're presented and
Yeah.
they're talking to you and they want to see that.
Honestly, you've come a long way from where you were, like from Catholic school and being bullied, growing out of that, uh, and then all these different stages in your life: the server, the welder, the corporate, the manager, who knows what, right? Now you have your own cocktail bar. What does it mean? Like, what does this moment mean to you?
I think the best thing about owning a restaurant is that you get to put your ideas to life and see what the audience is going to say.
Okay.
It's like you are the stage of a show and you want to do this triple backflip and you do it and people are applauding you. It's the best feeling in the world, honestly. I think the best thing for me that keeps the world going for myself is the appreciation and the fact that people really enjoy what they're having to the point where they come in every day to get the same cocktail. It's the best feeling in the entire
Mm-hmm.
world. I really put a lot of passion into this summer menu because summer is the best time of the year. Pineapple's in season now. Let's caramelize some pineapples. Let's cut up some watermelon and let's blend it together. Take all the pulp out and let's use some fresh watermelon juice. Very flavorful, refreshing cocktails where you can be outside in 100-degree weather. Once we start getting into fall, you're having. So when I think of fall, I think of being at a fire pit,
Okay.
chilling. You got your sweater on, your hoodie on. You're probably wearing shorts still
Mm-hmm.
because we're Midwesterns and we like to do the hoodie short
Right.
combination. You're making s'mores. You're
Okay.
you're you're not really grilling out anymore, right? You're starting to do more heavy things, maybe a pot roast, or you're doing chicken pot pie. There's a lot of that. Those are things that you're doing in the fall,
Mm-hmm.
and so I want to put that in fruition of what you're living and doing.
Right.
Let's work with some cinnamon and let's do something with chocolate and marshmallow and let's start doing fun things heavy wise, like let's start doing hot roast sliders or let's do chicken pot pie, or
Right.
now weaning away from the lighter goods, and,
Going
and
more.
healthier, and we're
Mm-hmm.
starting to slowly get into the heaviness.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start using sage,
Mm-hmm.
and we have squash into season and pumpkins, and we also have potatoes
Right.
is the perfect time in the season.
Yeah.
Parsnips, those are things that you want to use in the fall.
Having that creative freedom over living your life, right? Because you don't depend on somebody telling you, hey, you need to be here 8 sharp, 8 a.m. sharp, whatever. Like you get to choose, right? Is this what you had imagined success would look like? Is this success for you?
I strive for more, so I think that
Okay.
this is the first check off the list.
Stepping stone? Okay.
um,
Tell me more, actually.
Yeah, so I decided to build a bar that's 1,400 square feet. The only reason why I did that is because I did not want a 3,000 square feet restaurant. I didn't want where there's an upstairs and a downstairs, because I needed to figure out how the hell this was going to work. How the hell am I going to be able to manage 10 employees? And I don't have that even that much,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm so happy I didn't go big, because otherwise I'm going to be managing 30 employees.
Right.
And I'll probably have to have a manager
Yeah.
because there's more work, there's more orderings that are going to have to be done, there's
Yep.
a bigger kitchen. I always strive for more. And so this is just the check off the list of, you know what? I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I will own another one. Maybe I won't.
Are you looking to
As
like franchise, or you mean like
like
open
another
up another
concept. Yeah, another
another concept?
concept.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple concepts that I would love to do. I
Okay.
would love to talk about it, but there's some thieves out there.
Yeah, don't want to talk about that unless you have, like the copyright and everything, like the,
Exactly,
you know,
exactly.
if somebody's willing, like wants to start a cocktail bar, something exclusive like your bar, right? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say it's better to have, if you want a cocktail bar,
Mm-hmm.
don't put one 5 minutes away from another cocktail bar.
Okay.
Because, yeah, there's competition, but you want to stand out more. So I would go somewhere, 10 minutes away or 10 miles out of the area.
Mm-hmm.
That way, you're the only one in that area, and people are
Interesting.
going to love it. So I always highly recommend, don't go too close away from other ones. Try and find a perfect spot location wise that is away from the others, where you can actually grow your own way.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have all these people that are like, oh yeah, that they're copying them, or oh, they're so dumb, why are they doing that? Now if you
Interesting.
want to go downtown, it's a ruthless place
Mm-hmm.
downtown. So if you think that you're up for battle in a very enclosed area where there's so
Saturated.
many, if there's,
Yeah.
yeah, high saturation, do it, but you have to be different. You have to be
Yeah.
unique and different in your own way. You cannot, craft cocktails, there's such a big skew of things that you can
Hmm.
do. Are we focusing on Mediterranean cocktails? Are we focusing on just craft? Are we going to, do cocktails with more fire or
Right.
smoke? Have fun, do it. But I would always say, like, unless you want to be in that downtown where you want to just be in that battlefield, then do it.
Hmm.
Just be on your A game because they're always going to compete with each other and you have to try and always become the best.
Right.
Another thing I would say is I feel like it's very easy to find money. It's very hard to get a loan. So I would always recommend find an investor than a
Okay.
bank because listen, like depending on your investor, they might be a lot more lenient with things than a bank would be. A
True.
bank's going to want you to sign more off.
True.
I want your house on this loan too. I want this on your loan. They're more greedy that way. I did both.
That is
I did it
interesting.
during COVID. It was crazy. And I was able to find both. So there's that. Make sure you're always changing up the menu.
Okay.
Don't be stale. The ones that are stale are Chili's and Applebee's and
The
Olive
franchises.
Garden and stuff. And it's
Yeah.
because they can be. The
Yeah.
franchises, the corporations, they can be
Yes.
because they have something that pulls them in. If it's the free chips and salsa or the free soups and salads and breadsticks,
Right. Right. Right.
they
Right.
got that. You can
But you
do
also
that
got
if
the
you want.
name. You know
And
what I
it's the
mean?
name.
It's
Yeah.
the name.
You
It's
got to be
not.
different and you have to switch things up. People get tired of shit easily.
Hmm.
That's why I change my menu 4 times a month
Wow.
because I used to do, spring and summer and fall and winter. And people were getting bored with just that being the menus for 6 months. They were like, we're getting bored. When are we gonna, and we do food features, but that gets tiring too.
Yeah.
So switch it up, change it up. Don't feel discouraged ever because shit comes out of left field all the time, and you just got to be prepared to pick up the pieces
Hmm.
or throw it back into the field. I mean, you just have to prepare yourself
Right. 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 Unpredictable.
unpredictable
Unforeseen.
situations
Hmm.
that absolutely evolve. So
Right. What's the best advice that you've received?
don't fail. I wasn't really
Okay.
given good advice.
Really?
I told my old boss, I was like, "Hey, I think I'm gonna open up a restaurant. I just want to let you know, like, I think I'm gonna be here for another." And this is before COVID hit, and I was like, I just think I'm gonna be here for a couple more months. I want to open up my own restaurant. I want to start like planning something. He goes, "Oh, okay. Well, you may fail the first year, the first time, but that's okay. The second time is always better." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I hope I don't fail."
Right.
So yeah, the best advice I was given was don't
Don't fail.
fail, and the second time's better.
Although it's technically still your first,
It's
right?
still my first.
So
I'm
yeah, you made it.
almost 4 years in, so yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where can people find you, the bar, more about you?
More about me. Oh my gosh. So okay. So you can find the bar in Shorewood, Illinois. The address is 1146 West Jefferson Street. The
Okay.
name of the bar is called Mauve, like the color, pronounced mauve correctly, but mauve. It's a famous color
How
from
do you
the
pronounce it?
70s.
Mauve?
I pronounce it mauve, like everyone else.
Yeah.
Mauve.
Right.
Nosh and Libations. Nosh stands for small plates because I feel like with food get a couple things and share with people.
Mm-hmm.
This is all about meze style. Let's share.
Yes.
And libation is just a fancier word, for cocktails.
I did
Because,
not know that.
and you can find me there almost every day.
If you're not training somebody, you'll be just
Yeah, if I'm not
right.
training anybody, I also have a personal life too.
Right.
So I'm a professional tarot reader.
Okay.
So I read people's fortunes.
Okay.
It's kind of fun.
That is.
Been
You
doing
did
it since I
not
was
say
young.
anything about that, Nick.
That has to be the ending. No. So yeah, so I have like, so since I own a bar and I read tarot cards, there's other things that happen when I read,
Mm-hmm.
and that's more of the spiritual aspect of things. But
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of crazy because I grew up in a Catholic school and here I am talking more spirituality.
Yeah.
I named myself the Tipsy Tarot.
Really?
I own a bar, so
Interesting.
tipsy, and
Okay.
it's the tarot card situation.
Would you like
So
me to put also text for that?
if you want to, I mean, it does. I mean, I do YouTube, the Tipsy
Yeah.
Tarot. TikTok's huge.
I
You
wish you
know.
would have mentioned something about that
I know. I'm
earlier.
sorry. I'm sorry. So
I feel like that's a whole different podcast right there. You
We could
know?
talk about that on a different podcast if you
Yeah,
want, because that is
absolutely.
a whole different what I've seen and what I've heard and what my brother has experienced when he was little. Like he used to talk to dead people. We have a crazy life. But no, yeah, the Tipsy Tarot. It's kind of fun. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram.
I would like to close the show with these remarks. Thank you, Nick, for coming. Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you,
Yes,
man.
thank you
Like
so
I
much. That
really
was great.
did
That was
did
fun.
enjoy it. And like I said, I would love to have you in the future again, so we can touch base, see where you are with the bar, how many new franchise stores or bars you have. You know,
Absolutely.
if you also enjoyed this show, if it inspired you in any way, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, share it with somebody to inspire their day as well. And I will see everybody in the next episode.